Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Leviathan, watching the stars through the massive viewing screen. The year was 2387, and Earth's most powerful battleship was on its regular patrol at the edge of human space. Jake had been commanding ships for 15 years, but the Leviathan was special. This Titan-class battleship was the pride of Earth's fleet, built with the best technology humanity could create. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Commander Lisa Parker, his first officer, was checking the daily reports at her station. She had been with Jake for 3 years and knew the ship better than anyone. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Clark sat at the weapons station, keeping watch on their defensive systems. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked at the science station, studying data from their sensors. Jake liked these peaceful moments. Space was vast and beautiful, but it could also be dangerous. The Leviathan was ready for anything, with thick armor plating and weapons that could destroy asteroids. The ship was over 2 miles long and carried a crew of 800 people. Earth had built only 5 ships like this one, and each took 10 years to complete. Suddenly, the ship's alarm system started beeping. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her station with worry in her eyes. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy readings coming from deep space," she said. "Something big is heading our way." Jake moved to her station and looked at the data. The numbers were unlike anything he had seen before. "How big are we talking about, Doctor?" "Multiple contacts, sir. At least 12 objects, each one larger than our biggest cargo ships. They're moving fast and will reach us in 30 minutes. Elena's voice was steady, but Jake could hear the concern. Commander Parker joined them at the science station. "Could they be Earth ships we don't know about?" she asked. Elena shook her head. "The energy signatures are completely different from anything in our database. These aren't human ships, Captain." Jake felt his heart beat faster. Humanity had been alone in space for over a century. They had explored dozens of star systems but never found any signs of intelligent life. Now it seemed like intelligent life had found them instead. "All stations prepare for possible contact with unknown vessels," Jake announced to his crew. "Commander Clark, bring our weapons online but keep them powered down. I don't want to seem aggressive, but I want us ready." "Yes, sir," Ryan replied, his fingers moving across his control panel. "All weapon systems are online and ready." The next 20 minutes felt like hours. The crew worked quietly, preparing the ship for whatever was coming. Jake ordered the communication systems to be ready for first contact protocols. If these were aliens, this moment would change everything for humanity. "Captain, visual contact in 10 seconds, Elena reported. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The viewing screen changed to show the space ahead of them. At first there was nothing but stars. Then, like shadows moving against the light, 12 massive ships appeared. They were unlike anything Jake had ever imagined. The alien vessels had smooth, curved hulls that seemed to bend light around them. Each ship was at least a mile long, with strange fins and towers that glowed with blue energy. "My God," whispered Commander Parker. "They're beautiful." The alien ships moved into a formation around the Leviathan. They spread out in a circle, with the human battleship in the center. Jake could see weapon ports opening on the alien hulls. Whatever these beings were, they were not taking any chances. "Captain, they're scanning us," Elena reported. "I can feel their sensors running over our hull. They're very advanced." "Any communication attempts?" Jake asked. "Not yet, sir. But I'm detecting some kind of transmission between their ships. They're talking to each other." Jake made his decision. "Open a channel on all frequencies. Let's try to talk to them." The communication officer, Lieutenant David Kim, worked at his station. "Channel open, sir." Jake stepped forward and spoke clearly. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship USS Leviathan. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly contact. Please respond." For several long minutes there was only silence. The alien ships continued to move around them in their formation. Jake was about to try again when static filled the bridge speakers. A voice spoke, clearly artificial and struggling with human language. "Earthship, you will lower your defenses and prepare to be boarded. Your species is now under the protection of the Galactic Council. Resistance will result in the destruction of your vessel." The bridge fell silent. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "Protection?" It sounded more like a demand for surrender. "Can you trace that signal, Lieutenant Kim?" "Yes, sir. It's coming from the largest ship directly ahead of us." Jake looked at his crew. These aliens thought they could just show up and demand surrender. They had no idea what Earth ships were capable of. The Leviathan was built for war, and her weapons could crack moons. Open the channel again, Jake ordered. Channel open, sir. Jake's voice was calm but firm. Unknown vessel, we appreciate your offer. But Earth does not surrender to anyone. We are willing to talk and learn about your Galactic Council, but we will not lower our defenses or allow boarding. If you wish to communicate, we suggest a peaceful meeting. The response came quickly, and this time the artificial voice sounded angry. Earth ship, you do not understand your situation. Our weapons can destroy your primitive vessel in seconds. You will comply, or you will be eliminated. Commander Parker stepped beside Jake. Captain, their weapon ports are fully open now. They're targeting us, Jake smiled grimly. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Commander Clark, charge the main batteries but keep them hidden. If they want to see our weapons, we'll show them what Earth engineering can do. Batteries charging, sir. We'll be ready in 60 seconds. The alien ships moved closer, their blue lights growing brighter. Jake could see more details on their hulls now. They were clearly advanced, but he noticed something interesting. Their armor looked smooth and thin, probably designed to deflect energy weapons. Earth's kinetic weapons would punch right through that kind of protection. Dr. Rodriguez, what can you tell me about their ships? Jake asked. Elena studied her readings. They're definitely more advanced than us in some ways, Captain. But their design philosophy is completely different. They seem to rely on energy shields and light armor. I don't think they've ever faced weapons like ours. Jake nodded. Humanity had developed differently than these aliens. Earth's violent history had taught them to build ships that could take damage and hit hard. The Leviathan carried railguns that could fire projectiles at incredible speeds. And her armor was designed to stop anything. Captain, the lead alien ship is powering up what looks like a massive weapon, Ryan reported. Energy readings are off the charts. Jake made his choice. All crew prepare for combat. If they want a demonstration of Earth's capabilities, we'll give them one they won't forget. The stage was set for humanity's first battle with alien forces, and Jake Morrison was ready to show the galaxy that Earth was not a species to be underestimated. High Commander Zeth Valoris stood in the command center of his flagship, watching the primitive Earth vessel on his main display. The human ship was large for a species so young in space travel, but it looked crude compared to Council technology. Its hull was covered in thick armor plating and had none of the elegant curves that marked advanced civilization. Strategic Advisor Novak, what is your analysis of this vessel? Zeth asked the tall, blue-skinned woman beside him. Kira Novak studied the data flowing across her screen. The ship appears to be heavily armored, High Commander. Much more than we would expect from a species with their limited technology. However, their weapons seem to be purely kinetic-based. Very primitive, Zeth nodded. In his 50 years of service, he had encountered many species that thought they could challenge the Galactic Council. They all learned the same lesson eventually. Prepare the plasma arrays. We will show them the power they face, then they will surrender like all the others. The 12 Council ships moved into attack formation. Each vessel represented a different member species of the Alliance, and their combined firepower could level entire cities. The humans had refused the generous offer of protection, so now they would see what resistance cost. On the bridge of the Leviathan, Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien ships positioning themselves. Commander Parker, what's your assessment? Lisa Parker studied the tactical display. They're moving into a standard attack formation, sir. Looks like they plan to hit us from multiple angles at once. Classic overwhelming force strategy. Dr. Elena Rodriguez looked up from her science station. Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildup across their entire fleet. Whatever they're planning to do, it's going to be big. Jake turned to his weapons officer. Commander Clark, status on our defensive systems? Ryan Clark checked his displays. All shield generators online and at full power, sir. Adaptive armor is ready to respond to energy attacks. Point defense systems are active. The first plasma blast came from the alien flagship. A brilliant beam of blue-white energy struck the Leviathan's forward shields. The energy was incredibly powerful, enough to vaporize most ships in the galaxy. But the Leviathan was not most ships. The adaptive shielding flared to life, absorbing the massive energy discharge and converting it into power for the ship's systems. The crew felt only a slight vibration as the alien weapon struck them. Direct hit on forward shields, reported the shield operator. Energy absorbed and redistributed. Shield strength actually increased by 12%. More plasma beams struck the ship from different angles as the alien fleet opened fire. Each blast was powerful enough to destroy a space station, but the Leviathan's defenses held easily. The adaptive technology analyzed each attack and adjusted to counter it more effectively. High Commander Zeth watched in growing alarm as his fleet's most powerful weapons failed to even scratch the human ship. Impossible. Increase power to maximum. Hit them with everything we have. The Council ships unleashed their full firepower. 12 different types of energy weapons struck the Leviathan simultaneously. The space around the human battleship lit up like a small star as incredible amounts of energy poured into their shields. Multiple hits across all shield sections, reported the shield operator. All energy absorbed and converted. We're actually running above normal power levels now. Jake smiled grimly. Earth scientists had learned from studying solar flares and lightning storms. The adaptive shielding was designed to turn any energy attack into fuel for the ship's systems. The harder the aliens hit them, the stronger the Leviathan became. Commander Clark, prepare to return fire. 1 railgun minimum power setting. I want to show them what real weapons can do. Ryan's hands moved across his controls. Railgun 1 loaded and ready, sir. Target locked on the flagship. Fire. The Leviathan's main railgun activated with a deep thrumming sound that vibrated through the entire ship. A solid tungsten projectile, no bigger than a baseball, accelerated to nearly 10% of light speed in less than a second. The magnetic fields that launched it were so powerful they created a brief aurora along the ship's hull. The projectile crossed the space between ships in an instant. It struck the alien flagship's shields and passed through them like they weren't even there. The kinetic energy was so enormous that the shield generators couldn't even register the attack before it was through. The tungsten slug punched through the flagship's hull, creating a perfectly round hole from bow to stern. Emergency lights flashed as atmosphere vented into space. The mighty Council warship, pride of 6 different civilizations, had been crippled by a single shot from the primitive Earth vessel. By the void, whispered Strategic Advisor Novak. How is that possible? High Commander Zeth stared at the damage reports flooding his screen. His flagship was crippled, with dozens of decks venting atmosphere. The human projectile had passed completely through his ship and continued into space. What kind of weapons are these humans using? On the Leviathan's bridge, Jake watched the alien ship struggle with emergency repairs. That was our lightest setting, gentlemen. I think we've made our point. Dr. Rodriguez was studying the sensor readings from the attack. Captain, their shields are designed to stop energy weapons. They've probably never encountered kinetic attacks at these velocities. Our weapons are hitting them with the force of small meteors. Commander Parker looked impressed. Sir, should we target their other ships? Jake shook his head. 1 demonstration should be enough. Let's see how they respond. The alien fleet was in chaos. Emergency communications flew between ships as commanders tried to understand what had just happened. Their most advanced shields had been useless against the human weapon. The projectile had hit with such force that their sensors barely detected it. High Commander Zeth received damage reports from his engineering teams. The human weapon had punched through 17 decks, destroying critical systems throughout the ship. If the projectile had been larger or hit a different section, his flagship would have been destroyed completely. Strategic Advisor, I need options, Zeth said, his voice shaking slightly. Kira Novak was frantically analyzing the attack data. High Commander, the humans are using pure kinetic weapons accelerated to relativistic speeds. Our shields are designed for energy attacks. Against this type of weapon, we have almost no defense. How advanced are their weapons compared to ours? Novak's face was pale. Based on the projectile velocity and the power required to achieve it, I estimate their weapons technology is at least 200 years ahead of our current capabilities. Maybe more. Seth felt cold dread in his stomach. His fleet of 12 advanced warships had just been outgunned by a single ship from a species they thought was primitive. This was not how first contact was supposed to go, sir. The human ship is sending another communication, reported his communication officer. Put it through. Captain Morrison's voice came through clearly. Council vessels, we have demonstrated that we can defend ourselves. We do not wish to destroy your ships or harm your crews. However, we will not surrender or submit to any authority. If you wish to continue this conversation peacefully, we suggest you lower your weapons and establish proper diplomatic contact. Zeth looked around his damaged command center. Half his systems were offline, and his crew was working desperately to maintain life support. The human ship sat undamaged in space, its weapons still charged and ready. For the first time in his long military career, High Commander Zeth Valoris was forced to consider retreat. But he knew that word of this encounter would spread quickly through Council space. A single human ship had defeated an entire Council fleet. The implications were staggering. Strategic Advisor, send an emergency message to Council headquarters. Tell them we need immediate reinforcements and authorization to begin formal diplomatic negotiations. Yes, High Commander. Zeth looked at the human ship again. They had called themselves primitive, but these humans had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. The Council would have to decide quickly whether Earth would become an ally or the most dangerous enemy they had ever faced. Supreme Chancellor Dara Vex received the emergency transmission while attending a routine Council session on the capital world of Nexus Prime. The message from High Commander Valoris was brief but shocking. A single human vessel had disabled his flagship and demonstrated weapons technology far beyond anything in the Council's arsenal. Dara was a veteran politician who had led the Galactic Council for 12 years. She had seen the rise and fall of civilizations, negotiated peace between warring species, and guided the expansion of Council territory across thousands of star systems. But she had never received a report quite like this one. War Admiral Koss, I need your immediate assessment, she said to the grizzled military leader beside her. Koss was the Council's most experienced strategist, a being who had fought in 17 major conflicts. His forearms moved quickly across his datapad as he reviewed the combat reports. Supreme Chancellor, if these reports are accurate, we are facing a military technology gap of unprecedented scale. The humans have achieved kinetic weapon velocities that our scientists believed were impossible. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital command station above the planet, Admiral Henry Walsh was dealing with his own crisis. The first alien contact in human history had resulted in a military confrontation, and now 3 more Titan-class battleships were racing toward the encounter site. General Stone, what's the status of our reinforcement fleet? Admiral Walsh asked. General Marcus Stone, Earth's supreme military commander, studied the tactical displays. The USS Thunderbolt, USS Maelstrom, and USS Titan's Hammer will reach Captain Morrison's position in 6 hours. Each ship is fully armed and ready for combat. Walsh nodded grimly. And our diplomatic preparation? Ambassador Claire Foster is aboard the Thunderbolt with a full diplomatic team. If the aliens want to talk, we'll be ready. If they want to fight, we'll be ready for that too. Back at the encounter site, Captain Jake Morrison was maintaining his position while monitoring the alien fleet. The damaged flagship was still conducting repairs, but the other 11 ships had formed a defensive perimeter. No one was shooting, but both sides remained ready for battle. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had been working for hours to establish better communication with the aliens. Captain, I've been analyzing their transmission patterns. Their language is based on mathematical concepts which make sense for a spacefaring civilization. I think I can improve our translation protocols. Good work, Doctor. How long until you have something useful? Give me another hour, sir. I'm also detecting some interesting energy signatures from their ships. They're definitely more advanced than us in some areas, particularly in power generation and faster-than-light travel. Commander Lisa Parker approached Jake with a concerned expression. Sir, I've been thinking about the tactical situation. If more alien ships arrive before our reinforcements get here, we could be facing overwhelming numbers. Jake considered this. The Leviathan was powerful, but even the best ship had limits. How many ships do you think we could handle? Based on what we've seen so far, maybe 20 or 30 before their numbers start to matter. But if they adapt their tactics or bring different weapons, that could change quickly. High Commander Zeth was having similar concerns aboard his flagship. The emergency repairs were progressing, but his ship would not be ready for combat for several days. More importantly, he had received new orders from Supreme Chancellor Vex. Strategic Advisor Novak, the Supreme Chancellor, is coming here personally, he announced. She's bringing War Admiral Koss and a full diplomatic team. Kira Novak looked surprised. The Supreme Chancellor herself? This situation must be even more serious than we thought. The Council is treating this as a potential threat to galactic stability. If the humans have military technology this advanced, other species will want to either ally with them or destroy them before they become too powerful. Zeth understood the implications. The galaxy had been relatively peaceful for decades under Council leadership, but the arrival of a new military power could upset the careful balance between species and territories. 6 hours later, space around the encounter site became much more crowded. 3 massive human battleships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their hulls gleaming with weapon ports and armor plating. At the same time, a Council fleet of 30 ships arrived, led by the Supreme Chancellor's personal flagship. Jake Morrison watched both fleets take position and felt the weight of history on his shoulders. This was no longer just a first contact situation. This was the moment that would determine Earth's place in galactic civilization. "Captain, incoming transmission from the human fleet," reported Lieutenant Kim. "Put it through." General Stone's voice filled the bridge. "Captain Morrison, this is General Stone aboard the Thunderbolt." "What's your status?" "All systems green, General. We've had some interesting conversations with our alien friends, but no additional combat. They seem to be waiting for something. That something just arrived. We're detecting a massive alien fleet approaching. Looks like they brought their leadership for this meeting." Ambassador Claire Foster's voice joined the conversation. "Captain Morrison, I'm Ambassador Foster. I'll be handling diplomatic negotiations from this point forward. Can you brief me on the alien response so far?" Jake quickly explained the encounter, from the initial contact to the weapons demonstration. "They seem to respect strength, Ambassador. I don't think they would have agreed to talk if we hadn't shown them what our weapons could do." "Understood, Captain. Maintain your current position and be ready to support diplomatic operations." Aboard the Supreme Chancellor's flagship, Dara Vex was reviewing the latest intelligence reports about human civilization. What she read was both impressive and concerning. Earth had developed advanced technology while remaining completely isolated from the rest of the galaxy. This suggested a level of innovation and independence that could be either valuable or dangerous. "War Admiral Koss, what's your tactical assessment of the human fleet?" Koss studied the 4 massive human ships. "Supreme Chancellor, each of those vessels could probably defeat 5 or 6 of our standard warships. Together, they represent a significant military force, but more importantly, they demonstrate that Earth has the industrial capacity to build ships like this, which means they could build many more if they chose to." "Exactly. If Earth decided to expand aggressively, we would face a major military challenge." Dr. Elena Rodriguez had finally perfected the translation protocols when both fleets finished their deployments. "Captain, I can now provide real-time translation for any alien communications." "Excellent timing, Doctor. Ambassador Foster, are you ready to begin formal negotiations?" Ambassador Foster had been preparing for this moment her entire career, though she never imagined it would involve alien contact. "Yes, Captain. Dr. Rodriguez, can you establish a communication channel with the alien leadership?" "Opening channel now, Ambassador." The voice that responded was clearer than before, though still obviously artificial. "Human vessels, I am Supreme Chancellor Dara Vex of the Galactic Council. I request immediate diplomatic conference to discuss the status of your species." Ambassador Foster stepped forward. "Supreme Chancellor Vex, I am Ambassador Claire Foster, representing Earth and humanity. We welcome the opportunity for diplomatic contact and are prepared to discuss mutual cooperation." "Ambassador Foster, your species has demonstrated military capabilities that require careful evaluation. I propose a meeting aboard a neutral station to be constructed between our fleets." Jake Morrison smiled as he listened to the exchange. The aliens were no longer demanding surrender. They were asking for meetings and proposing neutral ground. The demonstration of Earth's weapons had changed everything. "Ambassador, I agree to your proposal," Foster replied. "However, we will not discuss surrender or submission. Earth seeks cooperation between equals." There was a long pause before the Supreme Chancellor responded. "Ambassador Foster, equality must be earned through demonstration of civilization and capability. Your military technology is impressive, but there are other considerations." Ambassador Foster looked at the tactical displays showing both fleets facing each other across space. "Supreme Chancellor, we look forward to demonstrating that humanity is ready to take its place in galactic civilization. When shall we begin?" The neutral station took only 18 hours to construct. Both human and council engineering teams worked together to build a simple but functional meeting facility in the space between their fleets. The station consisted of basic meeting rooms, life support systems, and communication equipment compatible with both technologies. Ambassador Claire Foster stood in the main conference room, reviewing her notes one final time. This would be the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. Beside her stood General Marcus Stone, representing Earth's military interests, and Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who would serve as both translator and scientific advisor. Captain Jake Morrison had insisted on joining the diplomatic team. Ambassador, I was there for first contact. I want to be there for the negotiations too. The council delegation was equally impressive. Supreme Chancellor Dara Vex led the team, accompanied by War Admiral Koss and Strategic Advisor Kira Novak. Behind them stood representatives from 6 different council species, each one studying the humans with curious eyes. Ambassador Foster, Supreme Chancellor Vex began, "Before we discuss formal relations, we must understand how your species developed such advanced military technology while remaining unknown to the galaxy." Dr. Rodriguez activated her translation system and responded, "Supreme Chancellor, Earth developed in complete isolation. We had no knowledge that other intelligent species existed until yesterday. Our technology evolved through necessity and our planet's unique conditions." War Admiral Koss leaned forward with interest. "What kind of necessity?" General Stone answered this question. "Earth has a violent history, Admiral. Our species fought countless wars before we achieved global unity. We learned to build weapons and defenses because our survival depended on it. And your planet's conditions?" asked Strategic Advisor Novak. Dr. Rodriguez smiled. "Earth has unusually strong gravitational and magnetic fields compared to most inhabited worlds. This forced us to develop different approaches to technology. Our ships need powerful engines to escape Earth's gravity, and our weapons had to work in strong magnetic environments." Supreme Chancellor Vex reviewed the data on her pad. "Your railgun technology achieves velocities we thought were impossible. How did you overcome the power requirements?" "Magnetic field manipulation," Dr. Rodriguez explained. "Earth's magnetic field taught us how to generate and control incredibly powerful magnetic forces. What seems impossible to you is just advanced engineering to us." Captain Morrison decided to address the larger issue. "Supreme Chancellor, with respect, it seems like you're trying to understand if we're a threat to your council. Let me be direct. Earth has no interest in conquering other worlds or destroying alien civilizations. We want to learn, explore, and cooperate. But you demonstrated your weapons very effectively against our fleet," War Admiral Koss pointed out, "because your commander demanded our surrender without even attempting peaceful contact." General Stone replied firmly, "Earth will defend itself against any threat, but we prefer diplomacy to warfare." Strategic Advisor Novak had been studying her readings throughout the conversation. "Supreme Chancellor, I've been analyzing the human ships during these negotiations. Their technology is even more advanced than we initially believed." "How so?" Dara Vex asked. "Their power generation systems are at least 50 years ahead of ours. Their ship designs show innovation in areas we haven't even considered, and their defensive capabilities could revolutionize Council fleet operations." Ambassador Foster saw an opportunity. "Perhaps we could discuss technological cooperation. Earth has much to learn from the Council's experience with interstellar civilization. In exchange, we could share some of our innovations." The Council delegation exchanged glances. This was the kind of arrangement that could benefit everyone, but it also represented a significant shift in galactic power dynamics. What specific technologies would Earth be willing to share? Supreme Chancellor Vex asked carefully. Dr. Rodriguez consulted with her colleagues before answering. "We could share our shield technology, certain propulsion improvements, and some of our manufacturing techniques. However, we would need to maintain security over our most sensitive military systems." "That seems reasonable," War Admiral Koss agreed. "The Council could provide star charts, faster-than-light communication technology, and access to our scientific databases." Captain Morrison raised another important point. "Supreme Chancellor, there's something else we need to discuss. If Earth joins your Council, what are our obligations? Are we expected to participate in Council military operations?" Dara Vex had been expecting this question. Council membership includes mutual defense agreements. All members contribute to collective security. However, each species maintains sovereignty over their home systems. "And if the Council decides to take military action against another species?" General Stone asked. Such decisions require a majority vote from all member species. No single member can force others into unwanted conflicts. Ambassador Foster felt encouraged by this response. That sounds like something Earth could accept. We believe in collective security, but we won't be dragged into unnecessary wars. The negotiations continued for several hours, covering trade agreements, territorial boundaries, and cultural exchange programs. Both sides were learning that they had more in common than expected. Strategic Advisor Novak presented her final analysis. Supreme Chancellor, I recommend full Council membership for Earth. Their military technology would strengthen our collective defense, and their isolation means they have no existing conflicts with other galactic powers. War Admiral Koss agreed. Their combat demonstration proved they can defend Council space effectively. I would welcome human ships in our joint fleet operations. Supreme Chancellor Vex made her decision. Ambassador Foster, the Galactic Council is prepared to offer Earth full membership with voting rights and territorial recognition. In exchange, we request access to specified human technologies and participation in mutual defense agreements. Ambassador Foster looked at her team. General Stone nodded approvingly. Dr. Rodriguez smiled with excitement, and Captain Morrison gave a thumbs up. Supreme Chancellor Vex, on behalf of Earth and humanity, I accept your offer. We look forward to joining the galactic community as equal partners. The formal ceremony was brief but historic. Earth became the newest member of the Galactic Council, with full rights and responsibilities. The human ships would remain in Council space for joint training exercises, while Council representatives would travel to Earth to establish permanent diplomatic relations. As the meeting concluded, Captain Morrison approached High Commander Zeth Valoris, who had attended the final session despite his ship's damaged condition. Commander Valoris, I want you to know that the engagement between our ships was not personal. You were following orders and I was protecting my crew. Zeth studied the human captain with new respect. Captain Morrison, your weapon demonstration was educational. I have commanded fleets for decades, but I have never seen anything like your ship's capabilities. Perhaps your ships and mine could conduct some joint exercises. You could learn about our weapons and we could learn about your energy systems. I would welcome that opportunity, Captain. It seems we both have much to learn from each other. Dr. Rodriguez was already deep in conversation with Council scientists about faster-than-light communication. General Stone was discussing fleet tactics with War Admiral Koss. The two sides were no longer enemies facing each other across space, but partners working toward common goals. Supreme Chancellor Vex watched the interactions with satisfaction. The encounter had started as a potential military disaster, but had become one of the most successful first contact situations in Council history. Earth's combination of advanced technology and diplomatic flexibility made them ideal Council members. Ambassador Foster sent a message to Earth announcing the successful negotiations. Humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. They had earned their place among the stars through strength, courage, and wisdom. The neutral station would be dismantled, but the relationships formed there would last for generations. Earth had joined the galactic community not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals who had proven themselves worthy of respect. 6 months after first contact, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the USS Defender, watching a mixed fleet of human and Council ships prepare for their first joint mission beyond Council space. His promotion to Admiral had come with new responsibilities and challenges he never imagined. The joint fleet consisted of 12 ships from various Council species and 4 human Titan-class battleships. It was the most powerful military force ever assembled in galactic history, and it was about to enter unknown regions of space where other hostile empires might be waiting. Admiral Morrison, all ships report ready for departure, announced his new First Officer, Commander Sarah Williams. She had transferred from Earth's defense fleet specifically to serve on mixed-species crews. Jake looked at the tactical display showing the fleet formation. Human ships were integrated throughout the Council formation, their crews working together as if they had been allies for years instead of months. Very good, Commander. Signal the fleet to begin jump sequence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had accepted the position as head of the new Interspecies Scientific Consortium. Her research teams included scientists from 8 different species, all working to understand how human and Council technologies could be combined. The results had already exceeded everyone's expectations. "Admiral, the new shield systems are performing perfectly," she reported from the science station. "Combining our adaptive technology with Council energy manipulation has increased defensive efficiency by over 300%. The breakthrough had been discovered during joint training exercises. Human adaptive shields could absorb energy attacks and convert them to power, while Council energy systems could redirect and amplify that power for use by weapons and propulsion. The combination made ships nearly invulnerable to conventional attacks. Ambassador Claire Foster was now Earth's permanent representative to the Galactic Council. She worked from a new embassy on Nexus Prime, the Council's capital world. Her staff included both humans and aliens working together to manage the complex relationships between dozens of different species. Her latest report to Earth had been encouraging. "President Chen, human technology has been integrated into 17 different Council projects. Our manufacturing techniques are being used to build new space stations. Our propulsion systems are improving Council ship designs, and our defensive technology is being adapted for planetary protection. And what are we gaining from this cooperation, Ambassador?" President Chen asked during their weekly communication. "More than we ever hoped, sir. Council scientists have shared faster-than-light communication technology that lets us talk instantly across thousands of light years. Their medical knowledge has already led to treatments for diseases we couldn't cure before. And their star charts show us safe routes to regions of space we never knew existed. The cooperation went beyond just technology. Cultural exchange programs had brought thousands of aliens to Earth, while human artists, musicians, and writers were sharing their work throughout Council space. Earth's violent history, which had once seemed like a disadvantage, was now viewed as a source of powerful stories and innovative thinking. Hi. Commander Zeth Valoris had recovered from his initial encounter with human weapons and was now serving as liaison officer aboard Admiral Morrison's flagship. The two officers had developed a strong professional relationship based on mutual respect. "Admiral, our long-range sensors are detecting something interesting," Zeth reported from his station. "There appears to be a large fleet of unknown ships approximately 2 light-years ahead of us." Jake studied the sensor data. This was why the joint fleet had been formed. Council space was expanding, and they were encountering other galactic powers who might not be friendly. "Analysis, Commander Valoris? The ships are using technology similar to the Hegemony Empire, Admiral. If so, we may be facing a scouting force from their territory. The Hegemony Empire was one of the Council's oldest enemies. They believed in conquest and expansion through military force, exactly the opposite of the Council's cooperative approach. If they had discovered Council expansion in this direction, conflict was inevitable. "All ships, battle stations," Jake ordered. "Prepare for possible hostile contact." The joint fleet moved into combat formation with practiced efficiency. Human ships took point positions, their heavy armor and powerful weapons ready to absorb the first attacks. Council ships formed supporting lines, their energy weapons and advanced sensors providing tactical support. "Admiral, the unknown fleet is changing course to intercept us," reported the navigation officer. "They appear to be accelerating to attack." Speed. Supreme Chancellor Dara Vex watched the developing situation from her command center on Nexus Prime. The success or failure of this first joint mission would determine whether human integration into Council forces was truly effective. "War Admiral Koss, what's your assessment?" she asked. Koss studied the tactical displays being transmitted from the joint fleet. "Supreme Chancellor, this is exactly the kind of situation we hoped human ships could handle. The hegemony uses aggressive tactics and heavy weapons. Our traditional defensive approach has limited effectiveness against them. And the human approach? Hit them harder than they can hit you, then negotiate from a position of strength." The enemy fleet consisted of 25 hegemony warships, each one designed for conquest and intimidation. They had been expanding into this region of space for months, destroying smaller civilizations and claiming their territories. The appearance of Council and human ships was an unwelcome surprise. Hegemony Fleet Commander Brutus Rex received reports about the approaching fleet with interest. Council ships were familiar enemies, but the 4 heavily armored vessels were unknown. Intelligence Officer analysis of the unknown ships. "Commander, the ship designs are completely new. Heavy armor, massive weapons, but they appear to be primitively built. Probably some client species the Council has recruited? Brutus Rex smiled coldly. The Council often used smaller species as cannon fodder in their conflicts. This would be an easy victory that would secure hegemony control over this entire sector. All ships, attack formation, destroy the Council fleet and capture any survivors for interrogation. Admiral Morrison watched the enemy fleet approach and felt the familiar calm that came before battle. This was what Earth ships were designed for, and this was why the Council had welcomed human membership. All human ships, this is Admiral Morrison. We're about to show our Council allies what Earth engineering can do against real enemies. Make every shot count. The hegemony fleet attacked first, concentrating their fire on what they thought was the weakest link in the Council formation. Plasma cannons and missile systems unleashed devastating attacks against the human ships. The USS Defender absorbed the first wave of attacks without visible damage. Her adaptive shields flared to life, converting the massive energy discharge into power for her own systems. The other human ships performed equally well, their armor and defensive systems handling everything the hegemony could throw at them. All human ships returned fire. Target their largest vessels first. 4 Titan-class battleships fired simultaneously. Their railguns launched projectiles at velocities that made them nearly invisible until impact. The tungsten slugs struck 4 different hegemony ships with devastating effect. The results were immediate and shocking. 2 enemy ships exploded completely as the kinetic energy overwhelmed their power systems. A 3rd ship was cut in half, its crew compartments venting atmosphere into space. The 4th ship was crippled, its engines destroyed and its hull breached in dozens of places. Fleet Commander Brutus Rex stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 4 of his strongest ships had been destroyed in seconds by weapons he couldn't even see coming. What kind of technology are they using? Unknown, Commander. The projectiles are moving too fast for our sensors to track effectively. The Council ships joined the attack, their energy weapons striking targets that had been softened by the human assault. The combination of human kinetic weapons and Council energy systems proved devastatingly effective. Within 10 minutes, the entire hegemony fleet was either destroyed or surrendering. The few surviving ships sent desperate messages requesting mercy and offering to withdraw from the sector immediately. Admiral Morrison accepted their surrender, but made the terms clear. Hegemony vessels, you will withdraw all forces from this region and will not return. Any further expansion toward Council space will be met with overwhelming force. You have seen what happens when you threaten our allies. The surviving hegemony ships retreated quickly, carrying news of the defeat back to their empire. The galaxy now knew that the Council had gained a powerful new ally, whose weapons could destroy entire fleets. Supreme Chancellor Dara Vex received the battle reports with satisfaction. The joint fleet had performed even better than expected, and the human ships had proven their value in actual combat conditions. War Admiral Koss, I want joint fleet operations expanded immediately. Human tactical doctrine combined with Council technology gives us capabilities we never had before. Commander, Sarah Williams on the USS Defender was already coordinating with Council engineers to improve their ship designs based